All right, hello and welcome to the Red and Black First Impressions set review of Kaldheim with a Brawl focus. Standard Brawl is the focus of this set review, this First Impressions. We've had Kaldheim for a couple weeks now, and I played a lot of Magic. Put up quite a few videos. I hope you're enjoying them, hope you're liking them. We did blue and white. It's in the card above, description below. Go check that one out. And we're going to do commons, uncommons, rares, and mythics for red and black in this video. All right, my scale that we will be focusing on are cards that I don't see will be played in many, if any, decks. I could be very wrong, but for the most part, I don't think these are all that great. And they're, I call them not great. Cards that are archetype and tribal dependent, cards that fit into very niche decks. Fringe playables, and cards that can be played in any deck. I consider these to be the best. Remember, these are my opinions, these are my thoughts, these are my feelings right now. They may change. We will do a sunset video at the end when maybe some of these spots will be different. And yeah, if you disagree with me at any point in the video, comment in the comments below. Let me know so we can have a cool, interesting, hopefully, discussion on things and Magic. All right, let's get into the black commons of Kaldheim. Like, notify, subscribe. Right, not great. Death Knell Berserker, Dusk Wielder, Draugr Recruiter, Grim Draugr, Dread Rider, Dogged Pursuit, Homeless Faithful, Wither Crown, and Infernal Pet. Of these, Wither Crown and possibly the Berserkers, if you're playing a very Berserkers tribal deck, I think you probably will be playing these. But for the most part, you're not going to put them in any deck, I don't think. There are other cards that do what these cards do and do it better. Fringe playable cards. We have Skull Raid, Demonic Gifts, Karfell Kennelmaster, Way Down, Priest of the Haunted Edge, Village Rites, Jarl of the Forsaken. So Skull Raid gives you card draw in black if you've emptied their hand or if it's late game, but also they get down to one or two cards. Being able to empty their hand is quite nice. Demonic Gifts, being able to bring back one of your creatures when it dies, cool combat trick. Karfell Kennelmaster possibly pushes through damage for you. Way Down, sure, exiling a creature card from your graveyard. There is some stipulation from this, but is very efficient at -3/-3 for 1 mana. Priest of the Haunted Edge, you do need to be playing this in a dedicated Snowland style of deck, and yeah, it's a fairly efficient removal spell. Village Rites, your creatures are going to be dying, so if they point a removal spell at something, being able to pay 1 mana to draw some cards, or you're playing a sacrifice theme deck, this is good. Jarl of the Forsaken, this card I think could be pushed into one of the better black commons because of the fact that it has instant speed and you can play it for 2 mana at Foretell, and people like to attack with their big, bad, mean, evil creatures, and being able to blow one up because it got dealt damage. I could see this card going from fringe playable to being one of the better black commons in the set. That's the fringe playable stuff. Now we get into the best commons. We have Elderfang Disciple, or Disciple, Rise the Draugr, and Feed the Serpent. This is first one's a 2 mana 1/1 that makes people discard something. Leaves it behind a body. It's a cleric and an elf, so it has 2 very important tribes in the card itself. And you could just slot this into as an early blocker, early disruption. I think it fits into a lot of decks. Rise of the Draugr, being able to do this at instant speed and return 1 or 2 creatures from your graveyard to your hand is very nice. The floor is 1, obviously, but the top is getting back 2 very powerful things because you, in black, you're probably doing a lot of trading. And then Feed the Serpent. There are cards that do this effect that are of higher rarity, that are stronger than this, but because it's a common that exiles a creature or a planeswalker, it fits into any budget style deck, and you don't need to worry about crafting that rare that you don't have, that you don't want to craft, because you have this to put in its place. Until you get that extra rare card that you feel you can use to craft your Eat to Extinction. All right, those are the best black commons. Let's move into some of the uncommons in black. All right, uncommon. The not great cards that I think won't see much play or don't need to be seeing much play are Blood Sky Berserker, Draugr's Helm, and Hailstorm Valkyrie. 2 mana 1/1, having to play 2 spells, maybe on your own turn, but then you're playing a 2 mana plus a 2 mana spell when you could be playing a very powerful 4 mana spell. And then late in the game, this is a terrible top deck. Draugr's Helm could possibly move up to the fringe playable. You are playing equipment style decks. This could be good. The fact that its equip cost is 4 is a little pricey, but having Menace and then also being able to pay 5 mana for a 4/4 with Menace is kind of nice. That leaves it behind in equipment, but yeah, a little pricey for what it does. Hailstorm Valkyrie, there are a lot better 4 mana flyers than this one, especially because this has a very high snow investment for its ability, and it's not a permanent thing. There are a lot better 4-drops. If you're playing Angels and Wizards, maybe, but there are a lot better Angels in the format at 4 mana. So that's why these are not great. Some of the fringe playables, we have Vengeful Reaper. There's a 4 mana flying Death Touch Haste. You can pay it for 2, so it's a 2/3. It's an angel, it's a cleric, it's got 2 good feature types. I don't see playing it in every black deck, but if you're playing a cleric centric deck, this would fit quite well. Tergrid's Shadow. Setting this up can be difficult, but if you have a deck where you can set this up where sacrifice 2 of their creatures and none of your own, then you're getting a 2-for-1. Or if you have like a spare token hanging around or 2, I think this could see play. I didn't play it in my Tergrid's deck because it was very much Tergrid and not much else. But if you're playing with little creatures that can be sacrificed, then yeah, this could see some play depending on how you build your deck. And Skemfar, Shadowshade, Elf Cleric, 2 very key things for this, along with same for Vengeful Reaper with the Angel Cleric. You need a lot of tribal for this to work. It's better in the Elf deck, and maybe with Shoot Storm tokens, it could be something. But you're not going to jam it in every single black deck that you play. It needs the support. These cards, on the other hand, if you want to, you can jam them in and probably be pretty happy. You have Rune of Mortality, Return Upon the Tide, and Poison the Cup. All right, I put pretty much all the runes in the best, other than maybe the green one. I'm not too sure. We will see that in the next video. I can't remember. But giving black some free card draw is kind of nice. Death Touch is a very, very strong ability, especially if you can put this on an equipment. Black doesn't tend to run a lot of equipment though, but yeah, 2 mana for what it does is pretty good. I put Return Upon the Tide in the best of the uncommons because it's one of the cheaper ways to get back anything from the graveyard. Sure, if you bring back an elf, you get the 2/1/1 elves, but being able to bring anything back for 4 mana because you foretold it on an earlier turn is very, very strong. And then Poison Your Cup. They've upgraded Murder. So if you have this in Foretell, being able to scry 2 after you blow something up, and then only being a 2 mana destroy any creature, that's pretty strong. These are the best of the black uncommons in the set. Let's move on to Rares and Mythics. These are the bread and butter, or the stronger, usually stronger cards in the format. We have some that are not so great. Dream Devourer, Haunting Voyage, and Egon, God of Death, along with Throne of Death. So I put Dream Devourer here. 2 mana 0/3. Each non-land card in your hand without Foretell has Foretell. Its Foretell cost is equal to its mana cost reduced by 2. This is one of those cards that I think could end up scaling for me. I put it in the decks and then I just I don't know. It hasn't performed well for me. Maybe it's performed better for you. Let me know in the comments. How is Dream Devourer doing for you? Maybe later in the format, once we play around more with the cards, we'll know. Haunting Voyage. It's got a lot to set it up. It's Foretell of 7 and bringing back all things. Yeah, I could possibly see this, but it definitely needs a very, very heavy tribal, and that's why I don't think it's great. And then Egon, God of Death, and Throne of Death. I think the Throne is better than Egon himself. The Throne could be put more up into the fringe playable, but I wanted to kind of put them together. So the Throne is more closer to the fringe playable, but Egon sacrificing himself to draw a card if you don't have cards exile in your graveyard. A lot of the times when you're playing this, you're playing it in a graveyard-centric deck, especially for the Throne. So, yeah, I just don't think, even though he's got great stats and a great ability with Death Touch as a 6/6, although reality is whatever he's going to bump into, he's probably going to kill anyway. So I think the Death Touch is a little over the top for him. But, yeah, I just don't think he's all that great. Fringe playable. We have Burning Rune Demon, Eradicator Valkyrie, and Tergrid God of Fright, along with Tergrid's Lantern. Burning Rune Demon for 6 mana. You get to draw a card that your opponent chooses. You do get to take the 2 best things. But at 6 mana, it's a little bit pricey for what it does. It's a Berserker, along with Eradicator Valkyrie is a Berserker and an Angel. So the creature type is definitely something to look at, but I don't think it's the best thing you could be doing for 6 mana. It doesn't win you the game on the spot like a lot of the other 6 mana spells that you could play. Eradicator Valkyrie, Flying, Lifelink, Hexproof from Planeswalkers, irrelevant. The bonus sacrifice a creature. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or Planeswalker. I think it'll fit in a Tergrid God of Fright deck. It'll probably fit in your Angels deck too. But I just don't think you're jamming this in every single black deck you play, along with Tergrid God of Fright and Tergrid's Lantern. You need to build around these things to make it work. It's not one of those, oh yeah, I can just play this and it's going to be good for me. Burning Rune Demon could be the one that moves from fringe playable to a best black card. But I think the other 2 that I have here are going to stay in the fringe playable section because you do have to build around them fairly well. All right, the best. We have Blood on the Snow, Vargroth, Bloodsky Sire, Draugr Necromancer, Crippling Fear, and Rise of the Dread Marn. All right, Blood in the Snow. Destroying all creatures and destroying all planeswalkers is very powerful. And if you are playing Snow, which if you're going to play this card, you might as well be playing Snow, being able to return something that dies is very good. And you can even return one of the things that it actually killed, because that trigger is going to go on the stack after it's resolved. So being able to return your Draugr Necromancer after you've blown up the board is quite powerful. I think it's just a very, very good card that you should probably be playing in most of your black decks. Vargroth, Bloodsky Sire, 2/3 Death Touch. It's great defender. It attacks fairly freely. I don't think you mind trading it if you're going to boast and find the best card in your deck for the situation that you're in. I think he's can be played in any black deck and you'd be happy with him. A removal magnet, which is good. Along with Draugr Necromancer, it's also a removal magnet. And you're playing black, so you're playing kill spells. And being able to steal the things that your opponent casts and then cast them for whatever color mana you want to cast them for, it's very, very strong. And yeah, I think it could be played in any black deck and you'll be very happy with it. Crippling Fear. I think this is a little bit better if you're playing a certain tribe or certain tribal style, but being able to give -3/-3 to anything takes out most of the good ramp creatures in the format. And if you're playing a control-y deck, it gets a little bit better. Rise of the Dread Marn. There again, same as kind of Draugr Necromancer and Blood in the Snow. It fits well with those. Things are going to die. And being able to, at instant speed, get X 2/2 Black Zombie Berserker creature tokens after a Wrath of your opponent, especially if you're casting it for 1 black mana or foretelling, it's very, very powerful. I think those are the best black cards in the format as far as Kaldheim goes. and let's get into the red first impressions. All right, red is one of my favorite colors to play these days. The commons we're going to start with are not great commons. We have Tuskegee Firewalker, Craven Hulk, Breakneck Berserker, Fearless Pup, Cinderheart Giant, Dwarven Reinforcements, Tormentor's Helm, Haggy Mob, and Open the Omen Paths. As far as these creatures go, I think Dwarven Reinforcements and Breakneck Berserker I've seen people play in their dwarf decks, and yeah, that's about it. The two giants that are here are not very good giants, to be honest. Not being able to block alone and having a 7 mana 7/6, sure, it's big, but there are lots of other things you could be doing. But the Breakneck Berserker and the Dwarven Reinforcements, I could see you playing in your dwarf deck, because the dwarf commander is one of the stronger new Kaldheim commanders. And then maybe Tuskegee Firewalker if you're dedicated berserkers. Friends playable, we have Axguard Cavalry, Immerstrom Raider, Shackles of Treachery, Squash, Vault Robber, Seize the Spoils, and Smashing Success. Axguard Cavalry, it's a dwarf. It can be tapped itself to give something haste, and if you have the dwarf commander out, you create a token just by making something have haste. The Demon Berserker, you're probably playing in your dedicated demon deck, and sometimes there are decks that want you to discard cards, so it fits there. Shackles of Treachery, there are a lot of good equipment in the format these days. Most colors have at least one. And being able to take whatever's on the creature, attack in with them, and then blow up whatever's equipped to the creature is very, very strong. Squash dealing 6 damage to a creature or planeswalker, even at 5 mana, is pretty good. And being able to do this if you have a giant in play for only 2 mana, it's a very strong card. Vault Robber, in the same vein as Axguard Cavalry, you can exile a creature card from your graveyard to create a treasure token. So if you do this with the dwarf commander out, you get 2 tokens, and so that's pretty strong there. Seize the Spoils, there again, discard spells. There are some decks that like you to discard. It's a little bit of a ramp in red because it does create a treasure token. So for 3 mana, you draw a card or draw 2 cards and create a treasure token. So you're not necessarily you're not up any cards, but you've pitch something you don't need to hopefully get something you want. And then Smashing Success, being an instant to destroy an artifact or a land, and if you destroy an artifact with it, here again it's a little incidental ramp in red, so I think it's pretty solid. The best, these are cards that you probably want to play in all your red decks. We have Demon Bolt, we have Frostbite, and we have Run Amok. So these are very budget. More often than not, the commons are a budget-friendly thing. Being able to deal 4 damage to a creature or a planeswalker for 1 red mana is very strong. Frostbite, dealing 3 damage to a creature or planeswalker, there again for 1 mana with 3 snow permanents. If you're playing this, you're playing most or snow lands. You're paying not on snow permanents, even better. And then Run Amok, giving one of your big creatures trample, +3/+3 is a very strong effect. And I think these are the best cards that can fit in pretty much any red deck. The cards on the last slide need some kind of help to make them work, but these are just 4 damage, 3 damage, and then giving something trample. So they can fit into any of your red decks. They are commons, and it's a little more of a budget style idea. Same with uncommons, they are a little more on the budget end. If you're just playing the game normally, you get a lot of uncommon wild cards. These ones I don't think are all that great. We have Provoke the Trolls, Dual Strike, Fearless Liberator, Dwarven Hammer, and Frenzied Raider. Provoke the Trolls, dealing 3 damage for 4, and giving something +5/+0, I guess if your creature has gotten through, but then that gives the opponent the opportunity, if they only had something small, like a Frostbite, and you're attacking with a 5 toughness creature and you provoke the Trolls, boom, they can 2-for-1 you. because of that. Fearless Liberator, having to attack and then paying 3 mana for another 2/1 just doesn't really cut it. Dual Strike, I could maybe see this one moving up. I haven't really played it a lot. So this could be something that moves up in my rankings as we play more of the format. Dwarven Hammer, I could see this possibly going in your dwarf deck, but otherwise I don't think it's worth playing. And Frenzied Raider, I don't think Boast is a very strong mechanic for our format in and of itself. Very much a limited ability, so I don't think Frenzied Raider really does a lot. Maybe in a dedicated Berserker deck, but we'll see. All right, Fringe Playable. These are cards that need some help in order to be good. Assault Ravager, Crush the Weak, and Doom Scar Titan. All right, Basalt Ravager is here because you need a lot of things to make it super good. Even just dealing 2 damage and then having a 4/2 left behind is probably okay, but I don't think you're jamming this in every single red deck you play. Same with Crush the Weak. The Foretell being 1 is very nice, but there are instant speed versions of this. There are 1 mana versions that do 1 less damage at instant speed, so you need a very specific reason to be playing this over other things. And Doomscar Titan, you need to be going very wide. In red, really doesn't fit into the very wide format right now, but having a big creature that has haste and gives other things haste, I don't know how relevant giving other things haste is, especially at that mana, because you're probably just casting this. So yeah, Fringe Playable, maybe in your Berserker deck. See. All right, the best. There is only one of the red uncommons that I thought you could fit in pretty much any deck and be happy with it. Giving a creature or an equipment better off than a creature haste is very, very good. You're on your way to making a Swiftfoot Boots. The only thing we don't get is a rune that gives hexproof. That was probably too powerful. I'm sure they tried it. But putting this on an equipment and making it so that one of your equipment grasps haste is a very powerful effect. And red incidental card draw is also very nice. All right. Rares and Mythics of Kaldheim for the Brawl format. Like, notify, subscribe. I really appreciate it. We have the not so great Rares and Mythics. And we got to think the not so great here is definitely a little bit different than the not so great of the commons. These definitely can see some kind of play as they are rare and they are mythic. But Dragonkin Berserker, Arnie Broken Bow, Reckless Crew, and Tybalt's Trickery. The Berserker, the cost to Boast to get a 5 mana 5/5 dragon. There are lots of other things in red at 5 mana. Yeah, sure, it's a repeatable effect, but getting this into combat at that time of the game, unless you're able to protect it in some way, but then you're using mana, and yeah, it just doesn't, I don't see it being all that great. If Arnie Broken Brow had Trample, naturally, I think it would be so much better card. Maybe they thought that was too strong, but just to get that power +1, it's gonna have 3 toughness, so it's gonna, whatever it hits, it's gonna trade with. And it's only an attacking thing. If Boast was a blocking thing, then maybe that would be better. But yeah. And then Reckless Crew, you need a lot of equipment and a lot of vehicles to make this work. I think it would be cool to kind of build a deck that tries to do this, but I don't think you're going to be doing much other than that. And then Tybalt's Trickery, I don't know, maybe this goes up in value. But giving something to an opponent at random, especially in a lot of the colors, we're playing big bombs in this format, so maybe countering a giant bomb does something, but it could just replace one bomb with another. Or you could get lucky and you could hit their 1 mana 1/1 death touch thing. So yeah, possibly goes up to Fringe Playable, but we'll see as we go on in the format. All right, into the Fringe Playable, we have Tundra Fumarole, Calamity Bearer and Quakebringer, and Harnfell Horn of Bounty and Bergy God of Storytelling. Tundra Fumarole, I personally feel that you need a decent amount of colorless cards in your deck to make this do anything other than deal 4 damage. If you have 5 or 6 mana rocks or equipment, then this goes along way to being more playable. Calamity Bear and Quakebringer, you need to be giant tribal, possibly the Berserker tribal deck. Otherwise, it's a 3/4 for 4. The Quakebringer could potentially move up, but it does need other creatures, other giants to do its thing when it's in the graveyard. But a 4 mana 5/4, pretty strong. And then Harnfell Horn of Bounty, I could see being played in most red decks. Being able to get rid of extra lands could be very powerful. I don't think Burry God of Storytelling is a Brawl card. I played against it a couple times, and they did a bunch of things, and then they fizzled, and that was it. So I think the Horn could move up, but I think Bergie's going to stay here, possibly go down, and that might be something at the end where we kind of balance out, and maybe one half of the card goes up and one half of the card goes down. And then we have the best. What do I think are the best in red? Goldspan Dragon, and Taralf God of Fury, and Taralf's Hammer. Here, the Goldspan Dragon, I think, is the best red card in the whole set, possibly one of the best cards in the whole set, period. Flying Haste 4/4, when it attacks to become this target of a spell, including your own, you get a treasure token, and you can tap those treasure tokens to add 2 mana of any one color. It's just a great top-end card in any deck that's playing red. Taralf God of Fury, I think, is much better than his Hammer. I think his Hammer could go to fringe playable. Taralf could stay up here. The fact that when you're playing red, you're probably playing some kind of damage spells. You're playing burn spells. So being able to hit a 1-drop with something that does 5 damage, and then move the excess 4 over to something that has 2 toughness, and then 2 toughness to 2 toughness, or throwing it at your opponent's face. I think he's just very powerful, and he's a 5/4 trampler on its own. Taralf's Hammer, on the other hand, takes a lot of things to go right and a lot of setup to make work. So yeah, I think that is Taralf's Hammer. I think will move down to being fringe playable, or Taralf God of Fury, you're gonna play it on his side more often than not. All right, those are red and black first impressions set review Kaldheim Brawl format. I'm really enjoying making the content. Like, subscribe, notify, and we're gonna get into the next set of colors, which I believe is green, artifacts, and lands. So look forward to that one. And I'm Mr. Pisto. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, and our night, wherever you are in the world. Bye for now.